The topic for this morning: how to stay set on the seat of stability. Each morning, Baba gives us powerful thoughts to start the day, to have nourishment for the mind, so that we stay strong and healthy. In Sakar Baba's days, Baba would say that early in the morning, Baba is cooking fresh hot halwa to feed the children. And today also, we get that same hot halwa in Madhuban. But the wonder is that the hot halwa gets served not only in Madhuban, but it gets served simultaneously across the world. So Baba becoming avyakt, and the power of silence keeps growing, but the power of science has been growing fast and helping in God's work. And so now we eat the same halwa everywhere across the world. So not just the murli, but together with that, the special blessing, which I think most of you would know, has been taken from the avyakt murlis. And so it's a different language, a different style, but the same power. And together with the blessing, also a little slogan. And I'm just seeing how, as time speeds up and we get closer to the end of the Kalpa, Baba's love and concern for all of Baba's new children is such that there have been different ways created so that you don't miss out on anything. You have the Sakar sustenance, but you also have the Avyakt sustenance, but you get the Avyakt sustenance through the Sunday Murli, but also through the blessing that comes. And today's particular slogan: if I want to be unshakable and steady, then I have to develop stability. And we translate this word as stability, but in fact there's a very lovely dimension in the Hindi language that I'd like to pick up. Ek ras sthiti, a stable stage. That's what it means. But break down these words, ek ras. Ek, you know that, one, and ras, sweetness. And what it's saying is that it's actually telling us what stability is. Stability is that stage in which I remain experiencing the sweetness from one. That is stability. Easy. End of talk. Really, we could just simply end here, because that's what stability is. And you know that in your own experience, however long or short time you've been with Baba, when you're lost in the love of one, that's it. Nothing else matters. And of course, as with human love, the temperature of the fire of love doesn't stay consistent. With human beings, hot and cold and cold and hot. But according to drama, we come with those sanskars of fluctuation and we bring them to Baba. And the same thing happens here. The hot, the cold, and sometimes a little warm, sometimes a little cold. And so how to keep that fire burning so that really I'm continually able to take the sweetness from one to the extent that there's nothing else that I need, there's nothing else that I want, and I can really be lost in that experience of the sweetness that can only be experienced at this time in the cycle, never again. And the wonderful thing that not only do I taste the sweetness of who God is and experience those qualities. But taking in that sweetness means I become as sweet myself. And so when Baba talks about the deities having that power of attraction, or the deities having that sweetness in which everybody turns to them to have a glimpse of them, to have a vision of them, to be able to take benefit from them, well, that's the sort of sweetness that's come from God, and they're not even around when they're worshipped, but just the memory and their memorials carry such power that people have this experience. And so translate that into the awareness of how the golden and silver age works, and how sweet is the soul, that it's able to experience total harmony with others, with nature, with the animals and birds and bees and everything else. And everything functions just as the dance, the beautiful dance. So, how? That's the question. But maybe another question connected with that, well, so what if I don't maintain stability? It's okay. Or is it? Is it okay? No. So why is it not okay? Well, the danger of instability is that I begin to lose faith in myself. If I keep going up and down and round about and up and down again, I wonder, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right path? Is this the truth? What's going on? How am I going to reach my destination? And so many questions of insecurity come through instability. And my stable stage and a great confidence and faith in myself, it's okay. It's going to work out fine. I'm going to reach that goal. And so stability is very much connected with developing faith in myself and having that confidence to keep going ahead. And the other side of the picture is that if there's been fluctuation, and usually it's not just that I see my fluctuation, but it's visible. That's the problem. It shows in my eyes, it shows on my face, it shows in my relationships, and maybe I'll be able to mask it to a certain extent, but not really. There's always going to be something that's visible. And so, not only do I lose confidence in myself, but it's very difficult for others to have confidence in me. Look at it from your perspective. If you've been trying to do something with another individual, and one day it's hot and the other day it's cold and it's yes and no, then after a couple of times, definitely there'll be the thought, well, maybe I should find somebody else to work with. I'm not quite sure what their response is going to be. And so let them sort themselves out. Difficult to trust others, both in terms of relationships as well as service, if I see them go through fluctuation. And the other side of that, the rock that the Dadis are, whatever it is that's happened, whatever it is they've gone through, and you see them absolutely solid and steady, stable. And some of you are meeting Baba for the first time now, apart from your inner conversations. I'm curious, how many are here to meet Baba for the first time? It's more than half. Interesting. Thank you. So, when you see Baba, there are others who've seen Baba many times, but when you see Baba, maybe the one thing you'll notice is Baba's stability. Absolutely stable gaze, stable awareness, and that stillness. And Shivratri is a wonderful time for celebration, but I'm glad that I hadn't planned to say this, but it must be because there's a need for it, and having seen that more than half are first-timers, I have to tell you that Shivratri is also a wonderful time for distractions. There'll be flags, there'll be lights, there'll be candles, there'll be people jumping up and down, they'll be coming on the stage, they'll be going off the stage, there'll be noise. Oh, it's a celebration. It's a celebration, a big celebration. And it means that you can very easily get distracted. And you'll see, if you keep your vision focused on Baba. If Baba's going to the flag, look at the flag, but see Baba, don't see the other people around the flag. When Baba's lighting candles, again, see Baba, don't see the 108 other people lighting candles. I don't know how it's going to work this time, whether there's going to be 67 people on the stage because it's a 67th Shivratri, or whether it's whatever. But my point, see Baba, don't see the other people and the candles. So there'll be people dancing, there'll be people singing, all sorts of things. But just keep your vision focused on Baba, and you'll be able to take power and light and love, and there'll be happiness, there'll be celebration, but it won't be a distraction. And you'll notice how Baba is totally stable. At times, very often, it feels that Baba is humoring us. You know, Baba doesn't want a cake. We want a cake. Or we think we should have a cake. And Baba just wants to give love. Baba's done his job in giving us the murali beforehand, and then all these other things are going on basically to satisfy the children. And Baba, stable within it all. Just silent. A deep, deep, deep silence that's there within. And then at the end of it all, again, you'll see how Baba pulls you into deep silence. And when there's that little jerk, and you know Baba's gone, there's a little jerk when Baba comes, but there's a little jerk when Baba goes. And you'll feel how not only is Baba going, but very often I get that sensation, it's like, I want to go too. You feel you want to go fly off home with Baba, and Baba's pulling you, pulling the consciousness, and it's a very deep state of silence. And in the last murali, all of you read the murali, some of you would have seen a video of it, but there'd been, again, a lot of interaction. Baba had been asking questions, there'd been other things happening, and then right at the end Baba said, okay, incorporeal soul, incorporeal father, that's it. And for 3 minutes, thousands of people just became silent. And yes, you could hear somebody was coughing. It was very cold at that point. Somebody was coughing, somebody was sneezing, but they were all sort of irrelevant noises. But the feeling was that vibration of stillness. And so Baba demonstrates stability even when many things are happening, and all the things that will be happening now will be very joyful ones, very beautiful ones. But sometimes there are things that are not so joyful, not so easy. and Sakar Baba's days, many of those situations, and yet Baba stable. Mama's left, Mama's become avyakt, and Baba, okay, sit in yoga, just be with Baba and see what Baba wants to do. And sending telegrams to Baba's children across the world. Nothing new drama. Giving the news and then nothing new drama. And Avyakt Baba, within a gathering of multi-thousands, different people have different emotional reactions, and we've seen one particular situation where a couple of young boys came onto the stage. They came running, and people around were a bit concerned. What are they going to do? And Baba just gave them drishti. That's it. And that's all they'd come for. Of course, it wasn't within the system. How'd you let 20,000 people come on the stage? Chaos. But these two did. And Baba just gave drishti. And they became quiet. And whatever aggression there had been, that was lifted. And so we've seen this demonstration. And not only is it that I have to have faith in myself and others have faith in me if I demonstrate stability, but also the coming times ahead of us. Well, do I need to say more? It's not possible to predict on a day-to-day basis what is going to happen at the present time. Certainly week by week, you really don't know. Month by month, nobody would even attempt to tell you. There used to be a time when people used to have forecasts for 5 years, and that seems a joke today. On a logic level, who can forecast what the next 5 years hold? Impossible. And so, each day, the unreliability of the world and the instability of the world grows, whether it's in terms of finances or the terrorism or anything. I was at a program on Sunday morning, and the program was by a group of Rotarians, and about 300 people there in Ahmedabad. I just happened to be there for Baba's program, but this was happening at the same time. And I was asked to talk about inner peace and understanding the world. Great. Baba's angle is inner peace, and that's it. So that was ready-made topic. But they'd also invited this director of police from Gujarat, somewhere in Gujarat. Maybe it was Ahmedabad even. And his talk was on terrorism. And for about 30 minutes, he gave us the lowdown on why terrorism, what happens, what are their aims, and sort of general broad pattern, and what are the different terrorist groups that exist at the moment. And the topic was peace. But that's the way of the world. And of course they would say that, yes, the threat of war today is because of that. But he closed his talk with something that was very interesting. And that actually became a bridge for my talk. Because he closed by saying that terrorists can attack at any time, anywhere, any moment, in any way. And governments really don't know how to deal with it. Governments are helpless in dealing with this particular situation, because you don't know what, how, where, if, but. All those questions are unknown. So how do you prepare? How do you do it? And he said that they're not saying this, of course, because it would create a huge amount of fear in people. And so they say, we've got things under control, we're trying to manage things, we're getting on top of it. But in fact, how? It's not possible. They just don't know how. And so I picked up on that particular point, that if it's not governments who are going to be responsible, so who is responsible? It means we're responsible. We can't point the finger out there and say, you're responsible, but I'm responsible. And so how do I deal with this responsibility? I deal with it by dealing with my own fears. And if I can deal with my own fears and create a stable state of peace, then that's going to be the empowerment that I need to have, and that's going to be the power that keeps me safe for the future. And as I say, it would have been, talk about terrorism and then talk about inner peace, and it's really two opposite ends of the spectrum, but he actually gave me the lead-in. And so, what is tomorrow going to hold? And human events are one thing, but the other events that are happening more and more, the natural calamities. So just look around and you see that the speed of natural disasters and the force of natural disasters is ever increasing. But this isn't a teaching for coping with disasters and emergencies. There's, I think, other things that will happen through your days here that you can find out more about disaster management. I think Spark is dealing with disaster management. But really, my inner stability, and I will know what it is I need to do, how to do it, and when to do it. Baba speaks about the wireless connection. And so my wireless connection with God, to be so clear that I get a signal and I understand that signal and I trust it and I'm able to work with it. It won't be possible to phone somebody or to ask somebody, but really, if I've built up that stage of stability, then I'll be able to receive Baba's signals and work with those signals. And so, when I realize the importance of stability for myself, for service, my future, then I begin to give it that value and I begin to work on myself, saying that, okay, whatever it is I've been through up until now, it's not just drama, but it's sweet drama. Why? Whenever Baba uses the word drama, Baba never uses the word drama on its own. Baba very often uses the word sweet drama, kalyankari drama, beneficial drama. And so, benefit, and in terms of even my mistakes and ups and downs, the benefit, what benefit is there? Well, in terms of my own life, yes, mistakes and ups and downs, and the benefit that I see is experience and understanding more and more deeply of myself, because I wouldn't have known what is it that's going to shake me, what is it that's going to distract me. I couldn't have predicted those things. And so experience in terms of knowing myself, but also experience in terms of, well, what were the factors that helped me come out of that? What were the things that were able to be my lifeline and get me out of the bog at that moment? There's nothing more valuable than experience. yes, maybe I could have learned my lessons a little bit faster instead of having taken so much time about it. But that's also the way it was. But today I know, I understand. And the authority of experience and the value of experiences, that which protects me now at every step that I take. I know what will happen if this is my reaction or this is my response. It's not theoretical, it's not abstract. I'm not just listening to something that somebody else has said. I know because I had my fingers burnt. Wisdom would have been to learn from others and not have to go through the pain. But I had to go through the pain myself. But now I've learned. And the other aspect of that because I've learned from my experience, I can share that experience with others when I see that they're struggling through the same scenario. And going from Kali Yuga to Satyuga, it's the same journey for all. The speed with which we deal with things is different, and the distractions that we face and how long we take over them is a little bit different. Things that were a distraction for me might not be a distraction for you. But for sure, it's the same journey. Starting point is Tamo Pradhan, the bottom of the pit, and the end point is perfection, Satu Pradhan. And so everyone along that journey has to go through the same things. I haven't seen it happen differently for anyone yet. The 8 jewels, the dadis, yes, Baba, Mama, they flew. And Baba especially, we've taken double the amount of time and still feel the destination is maybe not so close. And so the speed with which Baba undertook that journey is amazing. But that life, that example in front of us today, to give us inspiration, to give us courage to show how to. And so even if there's been fluctuation up until now, this time in Madhuban, really, it needs that inner resolve that I'm going to keep myself very stable, no matter what goes on around me. I'm not going to allow anything to create a loss of peace, purity, or happiness inside my own inner world. I came to Baba for this, and Baba is offering me this. Why should I allow it to be taken away through my own lack of attention or my own lack of understanding? And again, that's a very, very important foundation to keep very, very firm. Nobody else can take away my peace or happiness or purity. I give permission for these to go if I allow them to go. I have given permission. People came back from Madhuban, I think in the month of December, and of course every season is filled with much richness. Every group takes its treasures, and in that particular one, somebody came back with a statement that, and it was repeated to me by a number of different people, so it was obviously very deeply touching. And they said that in Nadi Gulzar's class there'd been the comment, I have a choice at every moment. Do I allow sorrow or do I want to keep my happiness? And so why am I choosing to have sorrow? It's a choice. Why am I choosing to have sorrow? don't want to choose this. I want to finish it. And so let me be able to keep my choice very clear and know that stability means stability in this. Stability is totally different to stagnation. Being stuck in the same place where I haven't moved and there's no progress, that's not stability. That is stagnation. But stability means having these qualities within my own inner world and not allowing anything else outside to shake me from these. And it is my lack of attention where I give them away or something takes them away. There was a little bit of chit-chat that I don't think got conveyed either in the writing or on the video in that last meeting with Baba on the 13th, and I only heard about it afterwards from Moini Ben, little Moini, Abu Moini, who was on stage with Baba at that time. But there'd been a little bit of a chit-chat with Baba about how transformation still isn't happening in the way that Baba wants it to happen. And the Dadis and Moini Ben was saying to Baba, but we really want it. And Moini Ben said, and really want it to happen, and why isn't it happening for the whole family as a whole? And Baba said, there's a little bit of carelessness and lack of determination. And so these two factors, my attention and my determination, and then I'll be able to have the stage that I want to have. In terms of carelessness and lack of attention, it's also the situation where the easier thing is to say, because of this thing, that thing, and the other thing, and this one, that one, and the other one. And the wonder is that each one is a creator of our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own stage, our own fortune, and our own destiny. Each aspect is my creation, my thoughts, my feelings, my attitude, my stage, my destiny, my fortune. Nobody else. Baba gives the tools, Baba shows me how, and I have to get on with it and do it. And so, very easy to pick up on any other thing, whether it's logic bondages, whether it's alokic duties and responsibilities, or place or situation. All of those will last till the end of the kalpa. They're not going to change. They're going to carry on. And so, do I want to lose out my opportunity because of that? Or do I say, no, I'm going to take charge? My stability depends on A, knowing myself very deeply. B, my relationship with God. C, following Srimad. And D, it depends on being involved in lots and lots of good karma. And as I say, this is nothing theoretical. It's from the decades that I've taken. You don't have decades. And so you can condense it all and work with it much faster. Knowing myself and knowing myself. Secondly, my relationship with God. Thirdly, following God's directions, Srimad. And fourthly, continuous engagement in pure karma. And so the first, I should be able to know what are my weak points and what are my strengths. knowing my strengths, I can continually enhance them, develop them, and use them. And again, the lazy thing is say, oh, but I don't have any good points. Well, that's also inverse ego. Because today Baba told us, out of multi-millions, Baba selected you, and out of a handful, you're the chosen ones who had the fortune of coming to Madhuban. What more? And so, to appreciate one's own fortune, and to know that, yes, Baba has selected me, and it's for good reason. A thought that's carried me through all the darkest periods has been, Baba knows me. I didn't know myself, either weaknesses or strengths, but Baba knew me, and Baba wanted me to have the opportunity to use my strengths so that I could create my fortune. And when you come to Baba physically young, 19, I was 19, and I know that many of you also came fairly young, you don't know yourself very well. And even if you come to Baba when you're 60 years old, like Baba came to Baba, even at that time, because Lokik life is so much in a sort of straight line almost, it's a predictable pattern for most people, you don't know yourself in terms of, well, certainly today Baba said Swadarshan Chakradhari, to be able to spin the whole cycle and know who you are and all your sanskars, only God helps you do that. But in Lokik life, you only know a tiny fragment of yourself. You don't know everything that's there. And as I said, certainly the younger you are, the less likely you are to know your strengths or weaknesses. And the older you are, you've been using certain strengths, but you don't know all your other strengths. And the strength you do have, there's probably a lot of ego attached to that one. And the interesting thing I've seen is that if I know a strength of mine, and usually without Gyan, there's a certain amount of ego associated with it, that strength will not be used for God's work. The door is shut. Somehow you think, this is something I can do, and it doesn't work, or the opportunity slips out of my fingers. It's not strange, it's absolutely right, but that's how the mechanism works. Many years ago, somebody said to Daddy, and they're very intelligent and university graduate, and they've done very well and very capable in Lokik life. And they said, I feel as if all of that has gone. I don't know what's happened to me. And Daddy said to them, it's okay. It's just to help you let go of the ego associated with that. And it's fine. Those talents are there, those strengths are there, and you'll be able to use them for Baba. But first, let go of the ego of all of those. And it worked like that. And so, Baba shows me what my potential is. And I'm not even talking about in terms of doing things. Again, that's another factor, that we judge ourselves and others by the doing. And yet, Baba's concerned with I, the soul, and my inner state of purity and perfection, not just the doing, but who I truly am. And Baba's vision of me is that. And so, how does Baba see me? And can I see myself with that same vision? And then I'm able to deal also with the negative side. I'm able to understand more deeply what it is I have to sort out, and I have the courage with which to sort it out. If it wasn't for Baba's drishti, And Baba's vision of me and seeing me in that state of perfection, seeing my weaknesses, I would lose hope. When I lose hope in myself, it's not just a loss of hope in myself, it's actually a loss of hope in God. Because God knows what He's doing when He selects me. On one side, how could God have selected me seeing all the rubbish? And I wonder, God has the pick of everyone on the earth. And so how come He selected me? Why me? And it's okay. God knows what He's doing. God sees the potential, and God knows what it is I have to sort out and deal with. But God has that trust in me. And so let me have the same faith and trust in myself and in God. Knowing myself and coming to that point of victory is really the question of faith. And it's that faith in what Baba is saying rather than what I'm seeing at this moment that's going to lead me to that state of victory and give me the stability now to be able to keep moving ahead. When I was earlier talking about the drawbacks of instability, the other thing that happens with that is tiredness. Not only is it a loss of time and energy and hope, but it's a huge tiredness that comes in. And the contrast, the dadis, you see their amazing energy and enthusiasm, moving. They're continually moving ahead. And so they're able to inspire us too. And the tiredness comes because it's heavy duty. You keep taking 5 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. And, I'm having to do the same thing again. And human nature that if I keep having to do the same thing again and I'm not getting results, I lose hope, I get tired. And the whole subject of conquering sleep, we'll make sure it gets taken up in a full topic because I'm sure it's something that many want. But today's Murali was an interesting signal. Where there's an income being earned, where there's benefit, then you're wide awake, you're alert. There's such joy, there's enthusiasm. And so where there's a feeling, there's nothing happening, or there's a loss that's going on, then the inner tiredness of the soul, and that's what the whole situation with depression in the Lokik world is about. Where there's no results happening, the desires are not being fulfilled, and there's a struggle in life. Well, sometimes it happens in Brahman life also. And the reason is that I'm not seeing results in terms of my own transformation. Service, that's another story. And sometimes you see that, Baba's making wonderful things happen, but what's going on in here? Sometimes you see that things get stuck out there also, but especially talking about the things in here. And so, as I continually go through transformation by knowing myself very deeply and seeing myself as Baba sees me, with that faith, I keep moving ahead and I don't get stuck. I'm going to be able to reach my destination. And the stability of my happiness is a tremendous source of energy. My happiness goes, my stability goes, my strength goes. And so happiness, stability, all of this is important. Within that, not only your sanskars, if you're willing to look at your own history, your own story, and do this absolutely detached, not with sorrow or pain or anger or guilt, but really detached. And I'll see what are the patterns in my life, and that'll give me an indication of my sanskars. Deep in silence and going deep into the original qualities and then seeing what's the rubbish in between, that's another way. But really look at your own history. But also don't just look at your sanskars, look at the whole subject of feelings. And why is it that your happiness disappears? What are the different things that happen in your life that change the happiness and take it away? One of the things that's been happening in recent times that I've picked up from Dadi is she'll say to people, but when your vision goes outside and you start comparing, then it's in that comparison that you lose your own happiness and you lose your stability. Just keep your vision focused on yourself and catch your own feelings and see, why do my feelings change? What is it that happens that causes that? And looking at others is just one thing, but just check for yourself. Baba's murlis are a very clear mirror, and different murlis will pick up on different topics and subjects, and you can see. But that whole exercise of checking the self every day, it's not boring, it's fascinating. You think that, to do the same thing every day is a bit dull, but that's if you're looking at things only superficially. But if you're really looking at yourself in terms of step by step by step, and your feelings and how it is they've gone through this fluctuation, you'll be very, very amazed and very interested. And one of the things about human beings is that our own story is of interest to us. We think it should be of interest to everybody else, and so press the button and people will start talking to you for half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours about themselves. But I don't need to do that, actually. But I do need to look at my own story. And also look at what it is that's helped you. Not just at what's happened, but look at the different things that help. And learn to use those tools much faster. Instead of waiting half a day, well, whatever that method is, use it quickly. And if it had to be something that happened to you externally, well, you know what the ingredients there were, but don't wait for whenever that's going to happen. Try and sort it out and make it happen for yourself. Is it that somebody came and praised you and told you how wonderful you were? Well, do that to yourself. Praise yourself in the way that Baba sings your praise. But know yourself very deeply. And with that, you'll make sure that it isn't back 3 steps, but it's forward, forward, continually. Second thing, my link with Baba. It's the most precious gift of the whole cycle, to be able to know God and to be able to connect with God. And again, just a caution here. My yoga is my yoga, and whatever other people are telling you about their yoga, it's fine, let them get on with it. They're telling you, I'm having these amazing experiences, I'm seeing these lights, I'm seeing these visions, and distraction. Anyway, lights and visions are a distraction, full stop. But especially if I get, for me, if I'm having lights and visions, it's a distraction. But if somebody else is having lights and visions and I begin to think, oh, I'm not having yoga like that, total distraction. What is yoga? I'll share a very, very simple understanding I had of it just about a week ago here in Madhuban. Dadi Ratan Moini took a class on the subject of yoga, and she said, it's like awakening a memory. There's something that you'd forgotten, and somebody reminds you of it, and as they talk about it, that memory, oh yeah, I'm beginning to recall it. It's slowly, slowly coming back to my mind. And this is what Baba is doing with us. Within the Murli, you remember? Do you remember what you were like in Paramdham? And do you remember what you were like in Satyug? Do you remember what that relationship is? Do you remember? And so Baba's reminding us, Baba's making us aware. And so yoga is the experience of that reminder. The Gyan is the reminder, and the yoga is the experience of that. Okay, I understand, I'm a soul, I'm a point of light. But what's the feeling of that? Baba's awakening it, Baba's reminding me. And so let me keep my mind stable. There's two different aspects of stability here. One is the stability in my life in terms of keeping my inner world safe and not allowing anything to touch that happiness and peace and purity. But the other stability is the stability of mind. Okay, good lesson. Practice the focus on God. Let it be that awareness of the reminder and that awakening of the memory, and that's all. My thoughts connected with Baba, my thoughts based on Gyan, that's it. Don't wait for anything else fantastic. If it happens, it happens, but just keep connecting with Baba and developing relationships with Baba on the basis of this awareness, but also your conversation. Converse with Baba. One of the things about yoga is that people think you have to keep your mind very quiet and silent. Well, in terms of everything out there, yes, let that go. But very active. Keep the mind active. And again, this question of conquering sleep, conquering tiredness, especially during yoga. When it's time to do, lots of energy to do it. When it's time to sit, gone. And it's because we're not recognizing that just as if I need to read something, I need to be alert. How am I going to read it and understand it if I don't stay alert? Same thing, yoga. I need to be very alert. I need to keep my mind active. Not just, I'm a peaceful soul, I'm a silent soul. But I am a peaceful soul. I am filled with silence, but that silence is meaningful. So as I really just take my time to build up that relationship with Baba in very simple ways, and the conversation with Baba is not just during the meditation, the conversation with Baba is ongoing through the day. So keep connecting, keep talking, and you'll find yourself just being filled with that light, with that love, and each day the connection will be deeper and stronger. But again, to recognize that it's now, and not to allow another human being to occupy space in my mind. When this whole question of attachment, of familiarity comes up, or the other side of the picture, a difficulty with somebody, clash of sanskars, all of this, they are occupying very precious space in here. This is so tiny, the space is so little, and I don't have any space to spare. I have to keep that not just reserved, but I have to keep it sacred. I have to keep it very clean so that I can invite God to be there. If I pollute it, even if I try, I can't. And so just to be aware of how precious this relationship is and how I have to make sure that I create the right space. Thirdly, sorry, I'll come back to that again for a moment. The deeper my connection with Baba, the more I feel God fulfilling all my needs. And there'll never be instability. Because the problem arises when I look out here for the fulfillment of my needs, and then yes, no, maybe, if, but, there's all these questions that come in. I cannot depend on anyone out there to fulfill my needs continually. It's a very gross error. And any human being, the dadis, Baba did not allow the dadis to depend on Mama. Baba pulled them away and made sure that, yes, love, respect, regard, appreciation, but my needs can only be fulfilled by God. Love and respect, yes, and even that will be stable if I fulfill my needs from God. Otherwise, even the respect breaks because I'm expecting something and drama, it doesn't work out. I can't have that need fulfilled. And so then what happens to my respect? It disappears. But my needs are fulfilled, and then the respect can stay also. And I'm not shaken, and my relationships don't get shaken either. And so, again, a little bit to know what it is I need, and that subject of knowing myself. Why is it that I keep getting distracted? So what are my needs? To know myself, and then that's the way to be able to fulfill my needs. And then thirdly, Srimad. And that's a wholesale statement because Srimad covers everything from 3:15 in the morning. Now it's not just 3:45 in the morning anymore, but wonderful, the opportunity for meditation from 3:30 for everyone collectively, not just one or two making effort like this, but it's beautiful. So from that hour in the morning through until pretty late, Baba's told us what to do, how to do it, in what consciousness to do it. Everything is set. And yeah, maybe there's bits that I'm not following. And every time I don't follow, I can see the immediate impact on my state of stability, on the power or lack of power of the soul to be able to cope with everything that's happening around me. Srimad gives me power. And it's that power with which I can maintain stability. Without Srimad, again, use the time you've been with Baba to look back on that experience, and you'll see how whenever there was a slight divergence from Srimad, you lost power, and as a result of that loss of power, something else happened. Many things happened that weren't right. And so, within the whole day, accumulation of power, the more I am aware of what it is Baba wants, what it is Baba would like of me, then the more I'm able to then keep following that if I want to. It has to be my choice. that this is what I want for my life. I'm not following Srimad because it's a discipline. I'm not following Srimad because the Brahma Kumaris say so. But I'm following Srimad because this is my personal relationship with God, and this is what God is asking of me, and this is what is going to give me power and the things that I want to achieve in my life. Whether it's Srimad in terms of karma philosophy, to do this, not to do this, whether it's in terms of relationships, tolerance, capacity, flexibility, humility, all of those things are Srimad. The food and the drink, all of that, of course, but the more subtle aspects of Srimad. The more I do it, the more power I have, and the more I see my life absolutely stable with the experiences that I would like to have. This aspect of blame, I've slipped away from Srimad, my happiness has slipped, and I don't realize that it's me. I say it's somebody else, but it's not, it's me. So, even if there's, if we were following Srimad 100%, we'd be perfect like this. And so obviously, there are things that I'm doing that aren't appropriate to Srimad, but let me tune my mind more and more so that I can see what more I need to do to get that power and maintain that stage and develop that stage further. And the fourth thing, whatever else happens, just keep doing something for Baba, anything for Baba. When Daddy first came into a surrendered life, not just Gyan, but a surrendered life, she was living with her father and mother, Lokik family, a little apart from the yajna, and that had been Baba's instruction. And so she'd come for class, and she'd go back to the Lokik home. And do you know what are papadums? Papar? You all enjoy them when you have them, I think. The little very flat biscuit, big. They bake them or they fry them. And in England, curry and papadum are part of the national menu now. So, but they're very difficult to make, not just the baking them, but actual from the flour to the dough to the flat thing. It's a very long and complicated and very difficult process. And from the point where you have the dough and you take a little bit and then you have to roll it and you have to make sure that it's absolutely level, not thick and thin and lumpy and bumpy and not like a triangle, but so it's a bit of a skill. But that's what Daddy used to do. She used to just make papadums in Baba's remembrance with love, and she'd make them, dry them, take them back to the yajna, and that's it. That was the starting point of a life of one of the 8 jewels. Her second task in the yajna, it was repairing old garments, not tailoring new ones, because even that's very creative, but she had a bag, put all your old garments or anything torn or anything that needs repairing, put it in that bag and I'll repair it. And that went on for, again, a while. And then her next job was 11 years of just nursing, and the word nursing meant everything, from cooking for the patients to cleaning them up, to cleaning them, cleaning their surroundings, giving them medicine, preparing their mind to take drishti from Baba. It was really everything. And so couldn't say, well, that's not my job, somebody else has to do it. No. Who else? It's me. And she had asthma and she wasn't very strong. And they didn't have running hot water as you do today. And so she'd lift pails of hot water to go up the steps for however many patients it was who needed to be bathed with hot water. So it wasn't just, yes, okay. It was hard work. It meant having an all-round attitude of what does the soul need? And then not just soul, but body. What does this body need? But soul and body. And providing whatever was the need. And that was service. And so it wasn't a question of just giving classes and lectures and things like this, but it was from the heart, it was work. And so my point that whatever it is I can do, no matter what else is going on, what sanskars I'm dealing with, what are the sanskars of others, what they're dealing with, it doesn't matter. Let me do something for Baba, some good karma. Thoughts, words, actions, mind, body, wealth, something, something, something. And the power that the soul gets from that brings stability. I learn more about God by being involved in some action for God than I do sitting and churning about maybe God is this, maybe God is that. Because my actions bring me into direct relationship with God. I do something for God, but that's the trick. I call it service, and it's with any other motive to please somebody. It's not service. It's my karmic account with them. Interesting, isn't it? I'm doing something to please another human being. It's not service. I might call it service, but it's not. It's my karmic account with them. I'm doing it for God. And only for God. And then yes, of course it's going to be of benefit to everybody else. But I'm doing it for God. And that's my karma with God. And that's what's going to keep me safe. And that's what's going to help me. And that's my insurance. When I need help, God's there to help me. And so these four things. And just keep focused on those four. And develop a deeper and deeper stage of stability where my stability lasts not just for a day or a few days, but it lasts so deeply that I know nothing can shake it today, but I also know that nothing can shake it tomorrow, no matter what may come. A few minutes left for any questions or comments, and then we close with meditation.
Well, the question was if someone cannot come to Madhuban for some another reason, and asking whether will you bring me tapes or books or something else. Is it a karmic account or is it service?
It's absolutely good karma, essential good karma. Because you're doing it for Baba's love, to bring that soul closer to Baba, and so vital. So yes, get lots of materials, both in here as well as in your bags, to carry back to share with others who haven't had the opportunity to come. It'll bring you closer to Baba, it'll bring them closer to Baba.
I'm Alan, and I've been with Baba for a year. I've known Baba a little bit longer, but actually been with Baba for a year. My question is, how can you find a good balance between doing service and being in remembrance, especially when you're doing service where you have to think? And yeah, hard labor, when you do hand labor, it's very easy to stay in remembrance, but when you have to think, especially you have to solve problems, well, at least I can be lost in service then for hours on without being actually in remembrance. So how can you find that balance?
Alan works in IT, and he had an identity crisis about place, which is why he didn't mention it. Holland, UK, both. Before you begin something, you focus on Baba, and even for that moment, you connect deeply. And then, yes, get on with whatever you need to do. And if there's traffic control, don't say, oh, I'm too busy, and carry on. But let that come in as a reminder. But then at the end of the task, again, connect with Baba. Then the task will be that much smoother. But also I think that that's the way to keep balance. I understand that when your intellect is totally engrossed in whatever it is, but that's fine, because it's not in any wasteful direction, it's not in any negative direction, and your energy is being used for Baba's work, so it's fine. But before you begin, when you finish, and if in between there's traffic control, then that'll keep things balanced. Sometimes we use this expression karma yoga, but in fact it should be yoga and karma. So, yoga karma.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. My name is Sudarshan and I'm from Texas, USA. I've been in Gyan for 1.5 years. My question is a slight confusion about comparing with others. You know, the idea about that Baba has selected me from a special few who have been selected by Baba, right? So, isn't it comparing with other people?
I don't think so. In that moment when I'm thinking of my amazing fortune that God found me and I said yes to God, I'm not looking at the rest who've said no to God. I'm just appreciating my own fortune. And so appreciating your fortune, appreciating Baba, makes you very close to Baba.
Okay.
And gratitude. It's appreciation and also gratitude for the wonder of my fortune.
Okay, so then suppose, I compare, okay.
No,
yeah.
I'm not looking at what others have done or not done. I have come to God and I'm grateful for that. And so I'm appreciating that. Comparison would be where I see, you're doing this service and I'd like to do that service too, but I'm saying, but why aren't I being given a chance? Or you're sitting here and I'm sitting here and I say, oh, I'd like to be sitting there. Lots of things happen when Baba comes. When Baba comes, it's wonderful fortune if you open yourself to that fortune. And there's amazing misfortune if you think, well, why are they being given a seat here and I'm being given a seat there? That's comparison. Yeah.
Okay.
So watch out.
Thank you.
My name is Mary. I'm from San Francisco. I've been in Gyan for 15 years. My question is, on Sundays, Murli, Baba praised the dadis for putting remembrance before service. And I'd like to know how they do that.
They would always give priority to their own stage and the relationship with Baba, knowing that that's what's going to make everything else work. Daddy Janki is absolutely particular about 4 o'clock. I've seen her come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, out traveling and this and that, and 4 o'clock is a must. I've seen her come home from hospital and 4 o'clock up. Traffic control, she doesn't wear a watch, but she's got an inner signal that'll tell her. She'll say, what's the time now? 7 o'clock in the evening. There'll be whatever else is going on, and she'll stop that and say, traffic control, meditation, 7 o'clock, evening meditation. So she'll always give priority to yoga and also Gyan. The task is next. Priority is Gyan and yoga. And if Gyan and yoga is okay, everything else is going to work out fine. And for me, especially, it's a very important lesson because I tend to get into the task and she'll say, it's okay, it's okay. Remember this first. Okay, last question.
My name's Simone. I'm from Germany and I'm in Gyan for 14 years. I don't understand why should I do service for Baba. I mean, Baba has everything, and I think it's good to do service for souls who don't have anything, for souls who need anything. Why should I serve Baba? I don't understand it.
Well, the interesting thing is that Baba doesn't have hands and feet and anything, so yes, you're right, I can't give anything to Baba. I'm not going to benefit Baba in any way, so good point, well made. But if in my consciousness I'm doing it for Baba, then it's going to carry power and it's going to be bringing the right results. If I do it because a human being has asked me to do it, or because a human being will be made happy if I do this, then that's my karma with them. I remember very early on in service in London, a new brother who'd come to Baba was washing Baba's car, and when he'd finished, and I mean, to wash a car when it's cold and not so pleasant weather and you're, so he'd done a hard job, and he came in and I thanked him, and he said, "Sister, I did it for Baba, I didn't do it for you." It put me in my place. But that was his attitude. He was doing it for Baba. Yeah? Baba's not going to drive the car, Baba's not going to, but the awareness or service, then it's filled with God's love, God's power. I cook with God's love for God, even though God's not going to eat it. But if I cook for you, then it'll be my attachment to you. Okay, last question. Oh, no question.